Knowledge is power. Make an impact by learning more. Call us right now for more help at 866-945-8070. Probably hit the record button on Zoom. I've been known to forget to do that on occasion. Not in a group. On a page I manage. Nerd Enterprise, you guys talk amongst yourselves while I do this admin stuff.
But it's more fun to stare.
While you're recording us.
How's Canada?
It's great. No, seriously, it's really warm. It's super windy, though. We're getting the tail end of your tropical depression now.
Tropical depression.
Well, now it's a tropical depression, right?
I like that. You know what? That's going to be the name of my punk rock band.
Tail end of tropical depression.
That's a little too
That's a mouthful.
Matt, tell us what's happening. You got a commercial coming up.
Yeah, well, tell us how you got that. What's that all about?
That's so cool.
It's nothing that super exciting. It's just
just a
local
TV interview.
No.
It's just a lead role in an A-list film.
Well, now that you say it that way. We've got a gentleman, Dr. Michael Landon, that has a TV show he does for like the local community thing, and we've been part of this thing called the Fair Center for Innovation here in Camarillo, where it's entrepreneurship and trying to help small businesses grow and find out if they've got a good idea or not. And Parkway has been involved on the accounting aspect to try to like help these businesses out. So they wanted to interview us to kind of find out about how I got started, what we've been doing, what we're doing now, and where we're going to, basically. So it was fun. It was a quick 15-minute type thing that they just did a quick interview, but had to get mic'd up and go through the process. And I've never done that before. I've done radio, I've done all the other stuff, but TV, that'll be the first one. So they edit the thing together and then they'll actually post it up. So once that happens, I'll let everybody know about it. Hopefully it turned out great.
I'm sure it will.
Very nice.
Fun. It was cool.
All right, we're still waiting for the Facebook live feed here. It's still churning.
I asked for his autograph and he told me I had to pay for it.
Who,
Well,
Matthew or Michael Landon?
Already, he's getting to be like that.
It was just for the shipping. That's all.
It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Pretty soon your beach picture won't be big enough for him.
It's not her beach picture anymore.
Possession is 9/10.
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, as a reminder, I'm colorblind, so I kept getting the characters confused, and it took me forever to get it right. So.
Oh, Linda, that's why he looks like that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, no.
You're in trouble at QB Connect.
That's the thing. Don't forget, we're not far off from when you're all going to be able to see each other in person and punch one another in the face.
Oh, wow.
No punching happening.
There's
No
usually
punching?
hugging involved, though.
Yeah, big time.
There usually is a lot of hugging. So apparently we've been live for over a minute and a half. Good morning. Welcome. Happy Friday. It's September 21st, 2018. And speaking of QuickBooks Connect, we're a minute away from QuickBooks Connect. It's coming up fast, right? It's really in like just a little over a month and 9 days or something. It's soon, November 5th, right?
In standard fashion, I bought my ticket last night at about 10:30, I think.
Was yesterday the cutoff?
Yeah. I reminded him.
That was the cutoff to get the 30% discount, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Why pay 100 when you can pay 70?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a deal for 70. I want that one. It was 3.
Yeah.
Well, if you have the 3 days, it costs more, right? The accounting day.
It's really worth it. This will be my
I meant
second year, and I
100%.
learned it's worth every penny.
Well, I'm speaking, and I'm going to be doing e-commerce accounting.
Cool.
But we're going to, others that I've seen present e-commerce accounting kind of spent the whole time just showing you all these apps and syncing tools. That's not going to be my focus. My focus is going to be on how to do the actual accounting and do it efficiently. So we're going to look at data flow. You're going to learn some Excel because we're going to do some importing and prepping files for import. And we're even going to cover a little bit of, dare I say, pivot tables to help organize the data quickly so that we can get it cut up and prepped for import. And you're going to see, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I know I'm going to have a lot of fun. That's all that matters, as long as, because it's about me, right? At the end of the day, it's all about me, and I just need to have fun. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that I have fun.
When I actually registered for my ticket, there was a special call that said, "Are you specifically coming for Seth David? Because this event is
to
about
make sure he has fun." Right.
Yeah.
It should be QuickBooks Seth, not QuickBooks Connect.
Don't forget to enter your promo code.
Actually, it should be, here it is. It's QuickBooks Con Seth, right? Because Con is with, and it's right. QuickBooks Con Seth. I like that. We're going to start a whole new. That's going to be my conference.
The QuickBooks Connect promo code is Sethosaurus.
There it is. Try
You know
that.
people are going to try that now, right, Adam?
It actually increases the price.
You're getting some love for that one on Facebook.
I missed it. It increases the price. Sarah Laidlaw says, "You guys are so funny." We are. We're very funny, and we're very punny too. We're funny and punny. So yesterday, for those who missed it, I was actually on the QB Power Hour with Mr. Hector Garcia, presenting accounting for real estate. We went over how to book. Well, we say a HUD one, but really now it's a closing disclosure statement. We just haven't gotten used to saying closing disclosure statement. Everybody say it with me. Say closing disclosure statement. So it doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well.
It does really fast.
I remember when I first started doing them and I had clients, it sounded so like, I felt like I was so sophisticated because they were like, "Oh, let's enter this HUD one." And I'm like, I felt like I was on like Star Trek or something, like Roger, Captain Kirk, entering the HUD one now.
I need more power, Captain.
Yeah, I don't have the power. I can't enter the HUD one. And I remember the first time I ever entered one, I was sweating because I really didn't know how to enter one. I took on this client, and in my usual fashion, especially in those days, these days I'm a little older, a little less aggressive, a little more conservative. But I went in there saying, "Yeah, sure, I know how to do this stuff." And so the guy hands me a HUD one. He says, "Yeah, I just bought this rental property, and I had like 3 partners in on it." So I'm sweating bullets. He hands me the HUD one. Luckily, the title company in this case had it organized in terms of debits and credits. So I'm like,
Nice.
"Oh, perfect. It's a journal entry. They did my work for me." But I still had to deal with the escrow deposits coming in from all the partners. But what I learned in that experience is if you understand the accounting fundamentals, you can figure this stuff out pretty quickly and even on your toes, right? And that's exactly what happened. After I entered that first HUD one, I was like, deep sigh of relief, big weight off my shoulders. Now I can enter HUD ones all day long because I learned on probably the most complicated HUD one I've ever seen to date. So all the rest are simple. And then I ran into ones that didn't balance. That's always fun when the HUD one doesn't balance, because then if you look closely, you realize it doesn't say final on it. If it doesn't say final settlement statement, then that means it's not final, which means it may not balance because they may not be finished with it. Anyway, that's not today's subject, though. Today's subject is Airtable. I've been having a lot of fun with Airtable, so I'm kind of excited to show you all some of the stuff I've been having fun doing. It. And most of you probably saw an example of it when you registered for the webinar, right? So you all went onto the site, and you saw the calendar that's on my site now, right? And you just click on the event from the day that you want, and all the information is right there. That's all done in Airtable. So let's, I'm going to take a chance here. I'm going to try and share my bigger screen. I know some of you sometimes complain that it comes out really small on yours, but there's a reason. I need kind of a lot of real estate on this, on what I want to show you all. So I'm just going to wait for Adam Sivak to tell me it's really small. Because usually I can count on Adam for that, except that he's muted now, so now he can't tell me anything. So
I was waiting to hear that.
What?
That you were going to say something about me.
Oh, I always say something about you.
Hey, Seth.
Yes,
really
sir.
Small.
It is really small?
No, I'm just giving you a hard time.
No, seriously, can you guys see it okay?
Yeah, I can see fine.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. I am glad to hear that. So here's Airtable, and what I want to do, actually, I think I actually created the start of a new base. So all you've missed so far is me clicking here where it says Add Base. right? And then I say start from scratch because I don't want to use a template. So we're going to build this event calendar right here. In order to do that, I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to refer to the one I've begun to create for this. But I need to pull that off screen because it's part of a larger database that has confidential information in it. So hold on one second. Oh, come on. Don't be like that. There we go. Okay, so couple of things to get started, right? Because first thing we need is the event name, right? So let's call it like event title. And remember, I can't see what's going on while I'm sharing my screen and working here. So if you have a question, please interrupt. Or if you're watching Facebook and there are questions, Gina, I know you're always good for that. Just interrupt me and let me know if there's a question because I want to be able to stop and answer them.
Always good at interrupting.
That's not what I meant. You're always good for that. Just interrupt me and let me know if there's a question. Okay, now I'm getting an echo. I accidentally hit a field. So up here, we can unhide it. Okay, now I'm getting an echo. Okay, so we have an event title. Yeah, somebody's replaying, I think, the Facebook feed. So just mind that or mute yourselves if you don't have anything to say at the moment. Okay, now I have 2 hidden fields. Stop that. Okay, great. I want to delete the field. Delete. Delete. Okay, so we're starting really from a blank slate. And if you've watched any of my Airtable stuff so far, or in case that some of you haven't, this first column is critical. It's a different type of column than anything else. It's the primary column. In database lingo, we call it the index field. Right? Generally speaking, it's unique. It's never repeated. And this is also what's going to be referenced in any other tables that kind of link to this. So this is kind of an important one. And for those reasons, when you try to change its format, you have limited choices compared with any other column. Right? You can't do everything with this column that you could do with other columns because of the nature of what it is. So for an event title, we're just going to stick with single line text anyway. Right? And because presumably I wouldn't repeat the same event, even though each Friday is a Zoom in with Seth, it's Zoom in with Seth dash some topic. So that's, I can handle that. So the next obvious thing we want is the event date, right? And we do have a field type, of course, for date. And by the way, this search box it's a time saver. Rather than scrolling through the list, if I know what I'm looking for, I just type date. And there it is. And then we have some choices as far as the formatting the date. I'm not going to go into that right now. You can play with that easily enough and figure it out. Now, let's say that, well, sometimes the best way to build these things is to actually start filling in information because then you start to become sort of aware of what kind of information you need to capture. So let's start with QuickBooks Connect. Right? And I'm going to do something here. I'm going to put the event, and you'll see where I'm going with that in a bit. And we'll go out to November, and it's from November 5th to November 7th. And so the thing is, what you don't really have the ability to do easily here is deal with like a duration, right? We could do a start date and an end date. Right? Or, because of the way this kind of functions, let's do it this way, and you'll see why. What it comes down to is when it gets to the calendar view, I don't really want to do durations here. I'm going to do QuickBooks Connect Day 1, right? QuickBooks Connect Day 2, and QuickBooks Connect Day 3. And just because, again, I'm lazy, I don't want to scroll through the calendar. First, I'm going to copy the date from the previous, so I can do that. And that. Okay, and without any further ado, I just want to jump right in and kind of show you how this starts to take shape, because what I can do now is click this arrow, right? So right now, I'm in this view that's titled Grid View. Everybody can see where my mouse is? So if I double click this, let's just call this event grid. Because with Airtable, you can create different views based on the same table or base, right? Well, the base is the whole thing at large. This is now the Nerds event calendar table. And then this is the view, which I've just called event grid. So you understand the layers here, right? This whole thing is the Nerds event calendar, which is the base. We're in the table called Nerds event calendar, looking at the view called event grid. And notice there's a little drop down next to the view, and if I just move my mouse over it, you'll see it says all views. So I can change this or add different forms of viewing this information. So I want to go straight to the calendar view. It's got a built-in calendar view, which as soon as you have anything date-wise in there, it's going to render very nicely. And you can have multiple dates, right? So I'll play around with having like the start date and the end date, but I've already played with this, and I can tell you that it's not going to do like what your Google Calendar does where it shows the event crossing over all the days. It's not quite that sexy yet, but Airtable keeps adding functionality constantly. They raised a lot of money a few months back, so it just keeps getting better. So I'm going to say done for now, and you can already see now that I have my QuickBooks Connect day 1, 2, and 3, right? So, and on the right-hand side, I can see each of these events here. And all these are interactive. I can click on this, right? And then I can expand the record, although right now I just have these two things. So let's go back now to the grid view, and let's add another column. We're going to call this details, right? And this will do long text. Now, long text means it's almost like a little notepad. So if I click on there, I can start typing directly in here, but notice this guy right here to my right. When I click on that, it'll expand it into kind of like a little notepad. And I could say, this is accountant day. All you need to know is that I am presenting twice on this day. Okay, and then I can close that. And now if we jump back over to the calendar view, and if I click on this, and then click expand record, boom, now it starts to become kind of meaningful. On the right is just an activity feed. It shows me what changed when and by whom, right? When I present this on the web, if I publish this to the web, you won't see this part. You'll only see this information. And I can choose, when it is shared, when it's published on the web, I can choose which of this information can actually be seen, right? So, for example, the other thing we're going to want to add to this stuff, especially since I would love to have people kind of clicking over and registering, right? In fact, before the details, I'm going to insert a field to the left. And I got this menu up by simply right-clicking on the header where it said details, right? So we're going to say insert left, and this is going to be the URL for the event. I'm trying to think, are there any other URLs I'd want to put here? Probably not. Maybe, actually. So let's call this the event URL. And I'll save. And then for this, we want QuickBooksConnect.com. So, and again, it's just easier and typo-free if I bring it up and, what do you call it? Copy it.
Seth, is there any way that you can use your other screen? I have everybody here saying it's really small.
Okay. All right. I was afraid of that. Sure. It's for the most part.
Larry DeForest is even crying.
Okay. We don't want that. Larry, I'll send you another Starbucks. I used to send Larry Starbucks through Facebook Messenger. I don't know if they still have it. There used to be a way you could actually, like, I could get him like a Starbucks gift card. I remember sending that to him one year, and he said, he asked how I knew it. Starbucks was his favorite. So, fine.
Thank you.
I concede. I'm conceded. Larry is crying. Now I'm just looking at the Facebook feed. And Sarah can't see it. All right, so it is.
Actually, that is much better.
No, I'm sure it is, because it's on a minute ago it was on a 4K screen, which is a very high resolution, so everything's small. But it gives me more real estate to work with. But it's really not all about me. It's really all about you. So I do it, and I do it all for you. Okay, so just to recap, for those who couldn't see, we've added so far 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, right? The event title, the event date, of course. Why doesn't that just say event? Event date. An event URL, and the details, which is the long text, right? And now I've got the URL. And what's really nice about this is now if I pop back over to the calendar view and I click on this and expand the record, there's the URL and it's live. I can click on it and it will actually open this up. So of course, when I started playing around with this initially and I got about this far, I'm like, holy crap, this would be awesome to embed on a page in my site. And sure enough, I'm able to do that, which is what we're going to do once we're done building this calendar, right? But I want to add in a couple of other events. And here, we'll go like so and like so. But now let's do something else. Let's do account, we can say QuickBooks Connect accounting for e-commerce, right? So this is how I'll kind of show you when my talk is 11/5/18, and the URL really would be the same. You can't link directly to the specific talk, but now I can put some details in here. I'll be giving a talk on how the data flows so you can book it in a super efficient process. You'll learn data import techniques and tools, as well as how to build an efficient chart of accounts and what that means. All right, not bad for on the fly. Right, so again, if I flip back over to the calendar now I see 2 events here, right? The second one, of course, is my accounting for e-commerce. Right, so you can stack it. Also notice, and this is going to be available to people who see it when you've embedded it, there's different views. Like right now, it's a little crowded because I'm looking at a month view, but I can look at a week view, right? I can do a 2-week, 3-day, so there's options here. You can also condense the weekends. If you know that you're never going to have an event on the weekend, if you notice next to Saturday and next to Sunday, there are these 2 little in-pointing arrows, and when I move my mouse over, you can see the little help tip that comes up to the right of my mouse there that says collapse weekends, right? So it doesn't get rid of them, it just collapses them, makes them smaller. If again, if all or most of my events are going to be, during the week. Okay, what's funny is now I don't know, there, I can expand it. So you expand it by just clicking on the day, Saturday or Sunday. All right, back to the grid. So who else would, does anybody have any ideas for what they think could or should be added to this? Everybody's so quiet. Everybody's like, nope.
97 and up, Paul?
What do you have going there?
Who?
For Sarah's event. Is Sarah there? Sarah Laidlaw?
She's on the Facebook live feed. She's not here with us live.
No, I understand.
So send me your talks, like what day you're talking on, if you're talking there, and I'll add you to this because I'm going to put this on my calendar.
Mariette's on Facebook. She has something she's talking about.
I know she does. So Marietta, if you're there, if you're watching, either join us live and tell us or post it or just send me the information, right? Because I do want to build this out and make this like an event calendar for kind of all of our events. And I'll start adding my Zooms to this, right? Speaking of Zooms, because there's another thing I want to show you that's really cool. So let me see if I still have, I had an image that I used. Let's see what that is. All right. So how about this? The Authentic Accountant Podcast. Right, and so the next one should go live next Tuesday. Okay, so the link will be to be determined. But here's another thing we want to add. Let's add an attachment column. So what do we want to call this? Do I want to call this image? Sure. The type
So
is going to be.
Seth, with something like this, could this become a calendar where people could actually contribute towards it at a later time and have it embedded?
I could add a form to this base that would enable people to submit information about an event. And then, basically upon approval, I can add it to this. I can't make it so that they can, and I wouldn't ever want to make it so that they can directly add something, because obviously that would open it up for people to put like inappropriate things on there, which I would like, but not everybody else would. But yeah, so any of these bases in another click could be converted into a form.
Oh, yeah.
Right here. So when you go to your standard views, a form is one of them. So what I would do, and actually will do in this case, is create a form so that, people can fill out that form, and I'll just invite people and say, hey, so, got an event you want to let us know about, submit the information here. And it'll capture all of this information that's already in this table, and then I can get notified and decide if I want it. I would actually do it in a separate table, because again, because if I do it off this table, then the results will go into this live base, and it would show up directly on the calendar immediately, right? And the other thing is, when I go to the calendar view, here's how you could deal with that. Now that you think about it, I'm actually glad you asked that question, Matt. So let's insert right, and I want to add a column here, approved event, meaning it's approved for my calendar. And we're going to do this as a checkbox. So this is where this gets cool. I'm going to show you two things at once. First, let's add the image. Really easy. I've created a field called attach, which is of the type attachment. I've called it image, right? And now I've just added another one, which is a checkbox style field called approved event. So first, let's add an image. And you can add an image by simply dragging and dropping, right? So I'm going to add, for my Authentic Accountant podcast, just click, drag, drop, and it's going to add the image in. And it's just taking a second to upload. Is that a big file?
Can that checkbox be used to trigger Zapier?
It absolutely can. Yep.
Neat.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use it to filter, right? So I'm going to check these guys off, because these are all approved events, right? I'm going to leave this out of it for now, because now what I can do is I can move back over to the calendar, and I can add a filter, right? Because right now, if I go back to today, there's my Authentic Accountant podcast, which is not yet approved, right? So if I apply a filter where approved event has to be checked, right? Notice that as soon as I did that in the background, that event for next Tuesday went away. So now what you do is you create a form off of this grid, right? You don't include the approval checkbox in the form, so that way people can fill it out. It'll come in unchecked, and then only when I check it does it get included in the calendar view, right? Now that I check, yes?
Do you know if this can be done in a Facebook group?
You can embed code. You can't use embed code in a Facebook group, but you can use a link. So in the Facebook group, what you can do is, here's the share link, right? So I'm jumping ahead for a second, but I think we're kind of far enough along that I can show you now. I want to show you how to embed it in a WordPress site, right? But for a Facebook group, first things first, we go into the share settings. So I'm in the calendar view, right? I've got it set to where I have to approve something before it'll show up. So next we'll build the form, because it doesn't take long to do. So let's share this. We'll create a shareable calendar view link. And now I have options, right? So allow viewers to copy data out of this view. Sure, why not? The whole point is to make it interactive, to make it into a nice resource and tool that people can use. So we'll do that. I don't want to show all the fields in expanded records. I may want to be able to hide some things, right? And I'll go back and show you an example of that. I don't want to restrict access, but notice that you can with a password or to a specific email domain. This one, it will mean the person needs an Airtable account and needs to be logged into it. Default calendar display mode, right? So I can do month, 2 week by default. I'm going to leave it on month. Okay, and then here's where you can get the embed code to embed it on the site. But Tiffany, that was you who asked that, right?
Correct.
So if I use this link, I can simply copy and paste this link, so you can put that in your Facebook group, right? I'm going to go on the live Facebook feed for this very session and post the link there. and people can click on that. And it's going to look like this. I'll bring it up on my screen for everybody as well. So this is what the public view of the calendar looks like, right? So notice they have all the options to change it to 2-week, week, whatsoever. I can advance the calendar out to November where QuickBooks Connect is. It's got the today button to get me back to today's date very quickly. Here, even the view-only users can expand or collapse the weekends. And over here, you can even apply filters as a user. You can add filters to this, or you can sort it, right? Sorting will only work within a day. So, and because the other thing I could do, which makes the sorting part a little more functional, is if you noticed when I set up the the date field rather, you can actually add a time component to this. And that way, if you sort it, it'll sort it by time. So if I have, but for example, if I end up with a bunch of events from people who are speaking at QuickBooks Connect on the same day, I probably will include the time field. That way I can put in not just the date, but the time of their talk. And then that way the calendar view can be sorted accordingly.
Does this let you also do like sub items? So if you want to do QuickBooks Connect at day 1 and then have a sub item that was the individual like speaking times for this example?
I would add another column for that.
Okay.
I would just do that in a different column because no, you can't. I know what you mean. I can't like indent this as a component of the one above it. That's a smart sheet function. And that's a good example, by the way, because when I started, talking about Airtable, a lot of people asked me, what do you call it? Is this going to replace Airtable or Smartsheet? And I said, no, because there's different tools for different jobs. And Matt, you just underscored a perfect example of something that Smartsheet does. I don't want to say better, but differently than Airtable, right? And so if that's functionality that you require for whatever your project at hand is, then Smartsheet is probably the better tool. Cool. And so now I'm finally looking at the chat here. Matthew, you wrote, wow, so you could use this to create a user form for clients to fill in a list of paper invoices and then use the checkboxes as a way to approve the data entry and have it zapped into QuickBooks Online. Exactly. And you can do that in Smartsheet too, by the way. In fact, I've built a process in the past in Smartsheet that does that. Cool. So absolutely. My new client form is built on Airtable. And once somebody submits that, and I think I showed this to everybody previously in a Zoom that I did, where I showed you all how I automate that whole process. And actually I have a course now on automating the onboarding process that goes through that specifically. In fact, it shows you how to do it in Airtable, how to do it in Smartsheet, and how to do it with Google Forms, where you create the form, the new client comes and fills it out, Zapier grabs the information, creates a new QuickBooks Online client, adds them as a contact, in my case, in Nimble CRM, adds them to MailChimp, and also adds a task in Active Collab for, to remind me to set up their project. And it puts all the information I need to set up that project in the details of that task. So there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with this. Let's quickly get this embedded into a page on the Nerd Enterprises site. I can't remember I think I may have actually created the page already as like a draft, but we're going to find out. If I do /events, let's see if I have anything there. I don't, and it just went to some weird, this is a blog post I have, but that's interesting behavior on the part of WordPress. All right, let's go back home. We're going to go new page. My site is very slow. I'm working on that, Tiffany.
You have a lot of stuff on your site.
I do, but it still shouldn't. And
why did you call me out?
Because you called because a couple of weeks ago you called out the fact that my site was very slow.
It is.
Google Analytics showed me 12 to 13 second load times. And Matthew, I did install that plugin you suggested to optimize all the images, and it improved it some. But then the guy who actually builds my website showed me some other plugin he used to run a test, and he said the page load times are more like 4 to 5 seconds. Google Analytics was showing like 11 to 13 seconds. So I don't know who to believe. When I just kind of count it myself, it seems like it's about 4 to 5 seconds per page to load.
GT metrics.
Who?
GT metrics.
GT metrics?
Yep.
All right, I'll have to play with that. All right, so how to embed it. And the beauty of this is it's live, so you can embed it whenever you want, and you can add to it, and it will just update in the embedded version on your site. It's one of the things I love about this, which reminds me just quickly, so I can show you how to kind of hide fields and control what people can or can't see on that calendar, especially in the expanded view. Let's say I wanted to add in details like a guest, right? Insert left, right. Guest, that's going to be a single line text. It's just going to be somebody's name. Let's say guest or host. Okay, this is obviously going to be me. And now let's say I want to add their contact information in here, but I don't want that showing to the public. I just want to have it here for my own convenience, sort of, right? So let's actually, let me think about this. Yeah, fine. So let's say I wanted to put my phone number in here. And by the way, Airtable has a phone number field. It's really cool because now I can do this. I can just type a string of digits with no symbols, and it renders it perfectly like a phone number, right? But I don't want that showing up because right now if I go to this version of the view, and that would be back here, and somebody clicks on the expanded view, I guess I have to refresh it. I didn't think you had to refresh it. Let me refresh it. Oh, that's interesting. So that's not showing up. It normally, I thought, shows up here, which is weird. Because normally what you have to do is go hide the view, right? Or hide it from the view. So I would hide the phone number. So up here you have hide fields, but I would do that in the calendar view. So let's go to calendar. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, because I've been playing with this a lot, and I could swear this kind of stuff was showing up.
I did play with this a little bit last night.
Here, 2 hidden fields. So it actually by default hid them, probably because I had already created the calendar before I created these views. So this one I did want showing, the phone number I did not. So, and here I'm in my, you know, they're hidden, so that's why they don't show up in the user view at all. So if I want this to show up, then what I do is click here, this little drop down right next to the field, and unhide. Sorry, Matthew, didn't mean to cut you off, but I like just figured it out. Now the other thing is I don't want my guest or host name appearing after approved event. An approved event should be hidden. So I'm going to hide that one, right? That nobody needs to see that. I mean, not that I care, but it's just, you know, it's extra stuff they don't need. But I don't want this coming up necessarily at the end. So the way to reorder this stuff is actually back here, go to the grid. And if I go to the hide fields drop down here, this is where I can, so this is now appearing here. I can click and drag here so that now guest or host appears before the details, right? And I can even here put my phone number there, right? And then let's go back to the calendar and always test this stuff for the reasons you just saw, because you think it's going to behave one way and then find out that it behaves another, right? So I still have in my hidden fields the approval and the phone number. And then let's see what this looks like here. So again, I'm going to refresh because this should now show the guest or host name. And it does, but it shows it down here. There's a way to reorder it for this view, which I'll play with. I thought I had that nailed down. Evidently, I don't. Matthew, what were you going to say?
I was playing with this a little bit last night and saw that you can actually import like a CSV file, and it will start to create the structure of the Airtable for you also, right?
It will, wait, one more time. It'll start to do what for you?
You can actually use a CSV file of data and import it into Airtable, and it will create the basic structure of the entire Airtable for you.
Yeah, I would think you'd have to do some mapping, but yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I haven't looked into that specifically. But that doesn't surprise me. Another thing I've learned that you can do here, by the way, when it's not doing things that you want, I really wanted the guest or host name to be above here. So watch what you can do. I'm going to close this. Let's go back over here. In this version of the view, here it's not even showing it where I want it. It's showing it here. I thought there was a way. From here to kind of reorder stuff. But if not, here's the sure way to do it. If I've taken the time to reorder it in the grid and I just want the calendar to kind of look, to conform to that, all you have to do is come here, delete the view. That takes me back to the grid, and just build a new calendar view real quick, because it's really 2 clicks. And now it has things in the order in which they appeared in the grid as of the moment I created this. So now I can go share this again. Of course, it resets that link. So if you were sharing that link on Facebook, you'll need to update it. But now this view, the end user's view, will have it presented in the way that I wanted it, right? Another thing, let's finish embedding this. So in the share options from the calendar view, we're going to just click embed this view on your site. Now, some of you are going to get scared because you're going to see HTML code. Don't be scared. Just highlight the whole thing and copy it. You don't need to worry about what it says. Back over here in WordPress, I'm on the visual tab. I want to be on the text tab. Everybody see that? I'm going to paste my code in. Now, the only thing is, and some of this, it's plain English, right? Notice it has a setting for the width, which says it's 100%. So I can't make that any bigger. I tried making it 150% once to see if that would enlarge it, but it doesn't. But the height you can. The height is described in pixels, right? It says 533. I could make this 1,000, right? Just because it's a calendar. I want it to render long. I don't want it to be too short. And if you go back to visual, again, it doesn't look all that pretty here, but rest assured, this will look fine when we actually preview it. So just to be on the safe side, let's click preview before we publish it. But sometimes when you embed code like this, the rendering while you're editing the post in WordPress doesn't look really like it's going to look now. It doesn't look as pretty. Like that calendar is all sort of crunched together.
Sometimes you have to play with the, excuse me, the scrolling setting also. So you don't get a scrolling page inside of a scrolling page.
Yep, and this will do that, which you can resolve by simply making the length longer so that there's no scroll. But as you can see, setting the length at 1,000, it's long enough so that there's no scroll. And now people can come in here and they can see exactly what I want them to see. Right? It's got the, I forgot to change the filter back. So actually this, when I'm in this expanded view, that does give it a scroll bar because this particular view doesn't quite fit. So you just have to play around with this stuff. Let's also go back because in that expanded view, what I don't want I want this hidden. And I think that was it. Again, I don't need people to see the checkbox where I've approved it for
And the phone number.
Oh, thank you. Right, so I want that hidden. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and publish this page. We'll call it, instead of events, we'll call it Nerds Event Calendar. All right, and I'm going to delete. This is, I can't type. When you rename a page in WordPress, you want to pull out what comes after the nerdenterprises.com so it will redefine it according to the now current name of the page. And then I'll hit publish. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. I see in the Q&A, for some reason Marriott posted in the Q&A earlier that she was here, but it doesn't look like she's here anymore. I'm assuming she meant to post that in the chat and not the Q&A. All right, so now that that's published, we'll hit view page. Now these Airtable embeds may be a little slow to load on your site. I know it was from mine, so some of you may have noticed I put up a little message on the page saying, don't leave before the miracle happens. It will load in a few seconds.
It was actually really quick for me, Seth.
This time, yeah, well, I've been working on optimizing the site. You know, I was inspired by you, Tiffany. I was like, I want this to work for Tiffany.
Thank you, Seth.
You're welcome. I say it's all about me.
Making a difference one website at a time. Good job.
All right, now I want to show you one of the really cool ass thing. Since we have about 10 minutes left, and I'm going to use a different example of a base I've created to do this. So I've been building an Airtable database around the Authentic Accountant podcast. Right, before I go on and kind of shift gears here, does anybody have any questions about how I did that, how I embedded it into WordPress? Because now I can just take this link. And so, Tiffany, if you wanted to do this and you want to drive traffic over to your website, I would do it like this. Put it in your website and then share this link on Facebook and say, hey, everybody, click over here and come and, you know, check out what events are going on and so on and so forth. Right, that way you're moving traffic from Facebook over to your site. It's good for your SEO, which Matthew will confirm, I'm sure.
Good point.
Can you share your template, or they call it a base, right?
Yes, you can. In fact, there's a couple of ways to do that. They have like their, I forget what it's called. I think I have it in my links here. Let me just see.
I didn't see how to basically use the templates that they had with the data pulled out of it, but the format's still there.
You can, when you're copying it, I believe there's an option to not include the data. If not, you can easily just highlight all the data, you know, at one time and just click, you know, tap delete to clear it all out, you know, in the raw grid view. I've done that with a couple of their templates. Let me just see something here. So if I do project management, no, it might be here. The Airtable has like a place, and I had it linked because I had published one there, where it's like where people can publish. They're kind of like Microsoft. I'm sure they still have it, where you can publish like your Excel templates and things to their kind of gallery. Airtable has something like that. It's called like the Airtable Universe. Maybe I can access it from here. Not here. I don't know. I'll find it and I'll let you know because I don't want to spend too much time trying to search around for it. But there is something in Airtable. Actually, no. If you go back here, here's where you'll find it.
At the top there.
Templates?
Universe there.
Oh.
You go to the universe, and so like I have nobody's following me, nobody likes me, but I do have one published here. Your application ecosystem. And so here's where you can publish your templates, and then see here where it says copy, and I can choose whether or not I allow people to copy it, but it'd be kind of silly to, well, I suppose if I wanted to make people pay for it, I could take this option out and invite people to contact me. But this is how you do it, and you can explore the base here so it will minimize the selly part of it and show you. right? So this is a way to publish your Airtable. And, you know, if you like get really good at designing these things, then I suppose you can kind of build a following and probably get hired to do this stuff for people. I have my first official one-on-one Airtable training coming up. Somebody on LinkedIn reached out to me, had seen some of my videos, and paid for a 1-hour session with me to help him build his database out for his business, which I'm actually really excited about. All right, let's go back because I want to show you a couple of more really cool things in the last few minutes that we have left. So there it is. When you go to your main Airtable sort of backend, go to Universe. Now, here is TAP, the Authentic Accountant Podcast. And what I've started to do, and I'm going to just hide that for a second, is I started to build out on TAP is the grid, right? And so I've got a database here, the name of the episode, right? Should probably call that episode instead of just name, right? I've got a guest, but notice this is a different kind of field, and notice this stuff looks different because these are linked to a database of my guests. And notice how I have the guests showing up here. This is called a gallery view, which is there in your view options. So when you set up an Airtable, you know, when you're looking at the grid, all I did was lay out the columns, and you just need a column that's an attachment style column where you upload the image. And when you go to the gallery view, it will render it beautifully this way. And so I'm still in the process of kind of filling in some of the information. But, you know, here visible to you is their basic information. I have more fields in their contact information that includes their email and phone number. So case in point, like I was showing you before, I don't want that showing to the public, but this I definitely want showing to the public, right? Because just the same, I can share this view and embed it on my website, right? And so I'm going to be this weekend building I've got the domains, the Authentic Accountant Podcast and AuthenticAccountantPodcast.com. So I'm going to build a landing page on the Nerd Enterprises site and probably embed this whole, if you want to embed the whole entire Airbase instead of just one table or one view, that's going to be here. So you click on the title of it, and over here you've got share options for sharing the entire base. So that's what I'm going to wind up doing. So here we have, you know, on tap, which is just the raw list, and here I have the recording date and the published date. The public doesn't care about the recording date. That's more for me. I have links to the show notes because the show notes are on my website, but where you go to listen to the podcast is on the Voice America website. So I have both URLs there, and here's where I upload the image for each episode because on tap, just like the guests, I've also started to build out a gallery view, right? So here's each episode. And I've been playing around with these images, but what we're going to probably do, not probably, we're going to do it, is I'm going to have Erica work with me because Erica's actually really good with graphic design and that, you know, she's good with like Photoshop. So we're going to create like a Nerd Enterprises branded kind of template where we can just drop the title of each episode onto that template. And that's, so these images are going to get replaced with something that's a little more branded for us. But
Seth,
again, this, sorry?
Did you know that we have access to your TAP? Like whatever you had put on the Facebook, I clicked on it today, and I've got it up on another screen, and I can see all of this on my other screen.
Yeah, I have this shared, but how did you get the link?
It was on your post in Facebook.
Oh, that's right, because I linked and said you can see this. Yeah, that was the shared link that I provided to you.
Okay.
But you shouldn't be able to see like phone numbers and things, can you?
Published, agility, ability.
No, see, I'll show you because look at my screen. Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't mind that this is shared. In fact, I wanted it. That's why I gave you the link so you could poke around and see an example.
I can see your stats.
Yeah, I'm going to show you that in a second. The stats are really cool. So if I go over to Doug Sleater, see here in the public view, you can just see his name. In my internal view, I could actually click from here over to Doug Sleater, and it has all of his detailed information, none of which I've added for Doug yet. So what's cool with Airtable is all this stuff it can be easily linked, and you can kind of drill around back and forth. Notice this little thing here is showing me that I'm now looking. I'm in the episodes table, but this is a view into what's coming over from the guests table to the episodes table because I linked Doug Sleater over from there, right? And now from here, I can actually click right back over to his episode. So now I'm kind of like multi-layering this thing. But that's the point, is internally, and I could set this to be available to those of you, who are looking at this sort of externally. But right now, it's not set that way. All you can do is look at it. But for me, it's even more interactive because, like I said, I can drill from here right over to Doug's contact details. And from within this view, I can start adding in his email, his phone, right? And all that would show up.
Add in something. I just want to see, because I see at those fields.
Okay, but you can't type anything in them. You can just see them. So let's just say www.sleater.com. It should update for you pretty quickly. But again, you won't see that because I don't have that set to show here.
I see it.
You have to go back over to the guest table, right?
Yes, I'm on the guest table.
Yeah, so if you go over to the guest table view, people are just dropping off like flies here. Yeah, from the guest view. Now wait, because I gave you that whole share link for the whole thing. Let me look at that again. That's down here.
So this may get a little geeky, but can you actually on the calendar view make it to where you could only show, like, say today, and as the day would change, it would show that day. And then if you embedded your social media or different blog content into each of those days, it could almost be a dynamic, like, posting thing that could change with new stuff being on there automatically.
If I make the field visible, the fields can either be visible or not. I can't tell it to only show the field if there's something in it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I was thinking calendar view, but yeah, you're right. So
yeah, the field can either be visible or not. So yeah, Tiffany, if you go here and you have the guest list here, right, in this view, this one actually would show their phone number and stuff. Luckily, I haven't put anybody's phone numbers in here, but I can fix that real quick because going back to my source database, I can go here, guest list, hide fields, right, phone, email. So I can get rid of those, pretty quickly. And then if we go back over to the gallery view.
Yeah, they're gone.
Yeah, they're gone. And Doug's website is now there, right?
Yeah.
So it updates pretty quickly. That's the nice thing about Airtable because it's not like syncing anywhere. It's just alive on the web and you're tapping into it wherever it is. That's what I love about like this kind of true SaaS software. And then real quick, because you mentioned it and I planned on showing it and we are literally out of time here. The blocks. So blocks are a way of making your data even more dynamic, and you can resize this. And so each week, Voice America sends me stats about how many views there have been. Let's just expand this completely. So I'm able to build a graph, a chart off of that to show me each episode and how many views there are. And I want this public because obviously I'm looking to attract sponsors. I want them to see that out of the gate, we've been live for like just barely a month, right? And we already have episodes with north of 2,000 listens. So this is great stuff. And, so I definitely want this public. I'm going to be sharing this, probably putting together almost like a pitch deck for sponsors who might be interested. I have a million companies who for years have told me, we want to work with you. We want to work with you. And ever since I've launched this podcast, I'm like reaching out to them and they're like, all of a sudden like doors are slamming shut in my face. But hopefully that'll change as we build up exactly what you're looking at here as this increases. The producers are telling me that we need to hit like 10,000 listens, which at this rate will be there in another month or two. But I don't have time to show you how to build this now, but most of you are pretty smart. I'm sure if you go in and build a database, the stats table is here. So I just list each episode. This field here is just a link to the episodes table, right? So if I want to add something, by the way, how that works, because this is a linked field. So when I created this, it's linked to the episodes. When you're creating, it's going to ask you which table do you want to link from, right? And once I do that, if I want to add in another stat here, right, another week with another number of views, I just click here. It gives me the list. I can do a search. So if I know I'm looking for the speed of cash with Mike Milan, I can start typing speed and click that. And now it's got that episode linked for me. And as soon as I put in a number and a date, that'll show up on that block, which is where that graph is. And then, of course, the with the episodes, I've got the calendar view also. So this is nice because now you can go through the calendar, right? And you can say, oh, I want to watch Doug's episode. The green, by the way, I've color-coded this. The green means that it's published. The black means that it hasn't been published yet. This one, I think, actually has now. We had a problem with it. I had them take it down. I believe it's back up. I haven't had a chance to check. But this way, you could still kind of go in here and see, oh, here's what's coming up, right? David C. / Inspector Gadget. He's great, by the way. So if it is up, go check it out. It's a great episode. And the rest are all, like to be determined. But, so this is perfect for something like this podcast. I'm going to build out this landing page and embed, this database here or pieces of it. I may not do the whole thing. I may do it in pieces. But this way, I'm going to use that with potential sponsors to show them what we have going on. And I'm also going to use it as kind of like the home page for people who want to just browse all the episodes that we have. And that way, from one place, you can access the show notes and actually listen to the episode at the same time. So I'm trying to give you one central place to go to kind of do everything. Unfortunately, Voice America doesn't give me the platform to put the notes there, which in a way is better for me because now I have an excuse to tell you to go to my website instead of Voice America so you can, because I have detailed notes on every episode so you can read this stuff. It's also good for SEO. That's the other part of the reason. But I also want to be known for having the best show notes in the industry as far as podcasts go. So, I have detailed notes with links to resources. So if a guest mentions a book, that link's going to be there, probably to Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Any other kind of resources that are mentioned are going to be referenced and linked in the show notes that I do. So that's what this is all about. I'm going to be building this out this weekend so you can kind of see it in real time as it gets built. And I'm probably going to move all my Zooms now over to my event calendar that I just created today. So, but I'll leave it in both places because I don't want to throw people off when they're trying to go register for a Zoom. The nice thing is I can have it linked from the same source in 2 different places because it's just pulling from Airtable, right? So that makes that easy. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Any questions?
That was really cool. I've got some cool ideas of what to do with Airtable. Thank you.
Well, then we need to meet at Brent's Deli. We need to meet at Brent's Deli anyway because we need to go over our SEO course that we're still working on.
Yes, we are.
So, all right. Well, cool. Well, I hope we will see you all later on Gina's Hangout. I never get there. I wish I could. I'm usually in the midst of something, but it is it's 2:00. They get together and talk, and 2:30 y'all go live. Gina's still with us here, so Gina, tell us what's going on.
What you see is what you get. We talk about what we're going to actually record a half an hour, and it's not just me or my opinion, it's whoever is there. They get to say what they want to say.
Everybody's opinion matters.
Ernest Cook looks like he wants to talk about, as a pro advisor, what tools do we rely on? So, cool. Yeah.
Excellent. So 2:00, go to SBAA on Facebook, Small Business Accounting Advisors on Facebook. And hopefully Gina will let you into the group so you can participate.
I will.
All right. I'll see you all later.
Bye, guys.
Bye. I gotta save the chat. There we go. Saved. See ya.